Hello, I'm John Beattie, and welcome to Cask to Glass, the Scotch whisky podcast, where we examine the heritage and flavour of the world's favourite spirit and Scotland's national drink. Now, in this episode, we talk to Hamish Malcolm, who's got a business called Dram Caddy, and he combines golf with whisky. Hamish, how are you? Thanks for talking to me.
I'm all good, John. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, it's a pleasure. We'll talk in detail. But first of all, how do you take your whiskey?
I take my whiskey, John, I practice what I preach when I'm doing the tastings. I always start neat, and even though I'm enjoying the dram neat, I would put a couple of drops of water in just to bring out some of the tastes and flavours.
Right. And why is that? Just to add the little bit, as people say, the little flavour bit.
Yeah, I don't do my tastings in a scientific role, John, but absolutely, I think there's a lot of science behind it that some of the flavours in the whiskey can only be brought out with some water. So especially when I'm doing my golf tastings, most of the clients for that are North Americans. So there is a little dynamic there where they can naturally drink whiskey in a shot style. So I kind of calm them down from that and say, we're in the Highlands of Scotland, folks. We can take our time. The pace of life is slower here. Or they'll take the whiskey neat. So I do try and encourage them to keep an open mind that by drinking it neat, you're not getting all the flavours out there. So I kind of give them the thought that it's like paying for 18 holes of golf, but only playing 15 if they drink it neat. So that's my thoughts.
Very, very good. And if you had to pick just one whiskey that you would like, or somebody else, you'd say this is a great whiskey, what would it be?
Yeah, I think still my favourite out of my little stash of whiskies I took props along is this one here, which is a Bunnahabhain.
A Bunnahabhain.
19-year-old sherried peated whiskey from a distillery. That's the last bottle I bought in 2023 when I was over at Islay for a few days. So brings back happy memories of that little escapade as well.
It's a beautiful part of the country too, isn't it? We speak quite a lot on the podcast about Islay, but Bunnahabhain, the distillery, is just gorgeous.
Yeah, great location to be in. Let's say I think we did 10 distillery tours in 4 days when I was over there. That was the last one, so we came out kind of blinking into the sunlight after a great warehouse session from David Brodie over there, who's a bit of a powerhouse. So yeah, that brings back a lot of good memories, that bottle.
I saw David Brodie a week or two ago. I was across for a funeral, and yeah, good, fun man. Let's talk about you for a bit before we talk about what you do. You weren't always in whiskey, were you? You were in the banking, finance sector.
Yeah, absolutely, John. I suppose I was a bit of a late developer into whiskey. I kind of joined the bank from school just because I couldn't think of anything better to do. Somehow stayed in banking and finance for 38 years. So I guess it was a career full of numbers. In my career now, my only numbers are distances to flag pins and ABVs, I suppose. So yeah, I was in the bank until February 24. Just felt I'd had enough, John. I'd squeezed all the fun out of banking and finance, so I thought I'll leave before it squeezed all the fun out of me. And I guess was figuring on a quiet life. And to me, that was going to be caddying at Castle Stuart, part of Cabot Highlands, 5 minutes from where I live. And I was doing 3 days a week in at the Highland Whisky shop in Inverness, looking out onto the castle. First time ever in retail, John. First time ever with general members of the public coming in, visitors to the Highlands, dealing with things like stock replenishment and barcodes and what have you. So that's a very different life for me there. But after a few weeks, stumbled upon maybe I could be quite good at doing the tastings. So people would come into the shop, rarely would they book ahead. They're just looking around bottles, see that we do tastings, about 9 different flight options, 3 drams in a flight. And I just enjoyed, and I think was quite good at just presenting whiskies to people. In that retail environment, it's very different, John. You've got people sat down for half an hour. Sometimes groups doing different tastings simultaneously. Not all spoke English, so there was some rock and roll adventures there. But it's a bit more a quick format, introduction, and hopefully then they go out buying a bottle. So,
Do you know that Scotland's an amazing place. We always say that. But that coastline, Castle Stuart, Lossiemouth, all the way along there, you've got Culloden. I mean, just in terms of your visitors who come there, that's a special bit of the country, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, I say the joke is, John, that from the Highlands, it's so easy to take it for granted. We just drive these roads all the time. I mean, I live in Culloden, so I'm virtually passing
Do you?
the
Beautiful.
battlefield every second time I go to Nairn, a lot out in Lossiemouth. So again, I think I'm determined, John, that I'll never take it for granted when after the third hole at Castle Stuart that I think you've played, you hit the fourth and you see the castle itself. And I'll never get tired of seeing people either taste whiskey for the first time or taste peated whiskey for the first time. Both these are moments that it's easier to take for granted the longer you go on. But yeah, it's on our doorstep. But yeah, people find it amazing, you know.
Tell me about the partnership you've got or you've discovered or that you help people understand between golf and whiskey. Two of our great exports.
Yeah, so really after about a couple of months of my new life in 2024, all I'm doing all day is speaking to people about golf and whiskey. It's a tough old gig, I know, but yeah, that's what was happening. So really, just again, the first time in my life, I've been away from the grind of financing, and you've got a bit more time to think than having the pressures of the day-to-day job. And the thought just came to me: could you make a lineup of whiskies where all the drams are golf related? So I went on the internet, John, thinking I'll find stuff. I'll just steal the ideas, put a Highland stamp in it, and away we go. And still, from that day to this, I've only found one chap based in Edinburgh who has put that combination together of golf and whiskey. Great idea. He'd be a great guy to have on the show sometime. I'll give you his name. His ethos, if you like, was about open venues. So really cool. It's the same target market as me. We've got people we can swap back and forth. As a Highlander, I guess the furthest north open venue you've got is Carnoustie, which still seems a little bit remote from the Highlands. So when I discovered this was something I'd been tapped into, I put myself to work, right, what works with Castle Stuart, Dornoch, Nairn, Lossiemouth, as you say, and can I stitch together a little story here that is ideally for post game of golf, maybe before the evening meal, and we can still be talking about golf, what they're having their whiskies, and we can talk about the places they're likely to go to in their Highland tour.
How do you do it then? Do you actually take people, have a round of golf, then taste some whiskies? Is that what happens?
Not so often, John. My thing of Dram Caddy, they're two separate roles. So really, most of my caddying is I'm on the road at Castle Stuart, part of Cabot Highlands, and occasionally through it near Nabarre, my home course. So they are two different roles for different days. Occasionally, I'll kind of end up concierging people or groups round, and sometimes you can have the same group, caddying and then dramming afterwards. They are different roles, but I think hopefully we'll have a little bit different. And I would always say it's a great day. It's a great event to go and play a round of golf, and then here's the minibus to take you to a distillery. I guess in that experience, the golfing chat's kind of stopped, and now we're talking whiskey. So even if I've not caddied for them during the day, I'm speaking to them maybe after the golf, after they've dusted themselves down, speaking as a golf enthusiast, as a caddy. So my kind of gag is we're now talking about the drams in the glass as well as the dramas in the golf course. So hopefully I can relate to them more having had their game of golf. And then we just start to chat about the links between the golf and the whiskey.
We'll get back to that episode in a second, but the best free way you can support the podcast is just hit the thumbs up button on this video and subscribe so you get new episodes every week. It also helps lots more people find the podcast. So thank you. What are the links? I know on your website, you've got some pretty well-known golfers right back in the day who liked their whiskey and took their whiskey around with them. Just give us a few of those tie-ups.
Yeah, so in terms of the lineup, so I normally do 5 whiskies as part of my offering, if you like. Occasionally we've shrunk it down to 3 if they're tight for time. So I call it the Live Tour version, the 3, okay? It's kind of shrunk down there, you got it. So I kind of whistle-stop tour of it is dram number 1, I would always call the easy par 4 to open with, okay? Because none of us golfers have ever butchered an easy par 4 to start with. So that would be something like I was over at Fortro's golf course yesterday, so they have their own bottling of Glengoyne 12-year-old.
Oh, wow.
40
Okay.
EBV, again, limited edition. So nice opening whiskey to start with. You mentioned Lossiemouth there before. They've got very, very strong whiskey links. So they have their own bottle from Glenmurray. Again,
Right.
40%, 18-year-old, but very affordable. And Tomatin, who are huge sponsors of all things golf up in the Highlands. Now, I've got the 18-year-old one to hand here. We don't start always with the 18-year-old, okay? But something like Tomatin Legacy, Tomatin 12, great drams to start with. So depending what location I'm in, it might be one of those three. So nice, easy one to start with, just to wet the whistle, as they say. For dram number 2, I take them a little bit further north and talk about Dornoch Distillery.
Now, there's a beautiful place. I mean, if people watching have never been to Dornoch, if you go up to Tain, isn't it? Tain, then
Yeah.
over the bridge?
Yeah, you sweep over the bridge and you'll be in Dornoch 10 minutes or so after Tain. Yeah.
Beautiful. And looking across the water to Port Mahomack, again, if people have never been to Port Mahomack, you have to go to Port Mahomack and see that bit of the country. I mean, Dornoch is gorgeous. And somebody said Dornoch. Oh, I'm just trying to dredge this out of my background in interviewing sports people. Somebody said in the days gone by that Dornoch's one of the most beautiful courses in the world. Who said that?
You'll probably find a lot of people who would say that.
Right.
I think Tom Watson described it as the most fun he's ever had in the golf course. He played it twice. But in terms of, you go on Google, you'll probably find, I think, Ben Crenshaw as well puts in one of his. So, these are quite good testimonials to have behind you. So interesting thing to me about Dornoch is you've got the super traditional Dornoch golf course, and within a quarter of a mile away, you've got two younger fellas in the whisky industry, Phil and Simon Thompson, who are almost seen as the rock and roll disruptors of the whisky world.
Oh.
I don't know if it's the smallest distillery, but it's certainly one of the smaller ones. So quite a juxtaposition, if you try and say that after 5 drams, okay, between the innovative Dornoch distillery, super traditional Dornoch golf course. So the Thompson Brothers, again, really famous. If you go to any whisky festival, John, they'll have one of the busiest stands around through real whisky enthusiasts. So one of the bottles I put out as dram number 2 is this one here, which is a blended whisky.
Wow.
So again, we have some fun and conversation there. Some of the visitors, well, we don't drink blends, man. So I kind of put to them that a blend came like a 9-hole golf course that you maybe booked last minute as part of the trip, played it with a pencil bag, teed off in sunset and in dusk, if you like. So although you've got all these, if you view the malts as being like the marquee courses, sometimes I call it the dram less travelled. Some of these more undiscovered ones, that can sometimes be the real novelty of the golfers kind of visit. So really good whiskey. If you look at the colour, almost the colour of Chardonnay wine, super light, natural colouring. So again, some guys and girls come over thinking the darkest whiskey must be the best whiskey. So we have a lot of conversation about that, and especially up in the Highlands Cheshire, we've had a bits of sunshine recently. So if you look at the fairways, the colour of straw, the ball will run further. So I just say to them, that's natural conditions on the fairways. That's naturally produced whiskey. So it doesn't mean say it's lighter whiskey in taste or texture. So Dornoch as well. Again, a lot of the visitors are taking in Dornoch as part of the trip.
Tell me, before you move on, tell me more about the Thompson Brothers. Because hand on heart, I should know it, but I don't know about the Thompson Brothers.
They'd be great guests on your show, John, absolutely. So they do some of their own whiskey. I think they came into being about maybe 2016, initially through crowdfunding. So they and their family-owned Dornoch Castle Hotel, slap bang in the centre of Dornoch. You open the door, you can see the cathedral where Madonna and Guy Ritchie's child got christened 25 odd years ago.
They got married in Skibo.
They got married in Skibo and then
just down the road.
Christened the kiddie in Dornoch Cathedral. So the world's paparazzi descended in Dornoch. I can't remember, 2000, 2001. So really innovative guys. Let's say they came through crowdfunding. They do some independent bottlings, and I'll show you one of those later on. They're mostly released on their website in Ballot. usually oversubscribed. So if you were an original crowdfunder, you're boosted up in the ballot. If you post pictures on social media of their bottles opened, you're boosted up in the ballot. But I believe it's still true to this day that if you're found to have won a bottle on ballot and then try and resell it for profit, you're very politely banned from the ballots. Very into the guys, they're actually developing a new distillery at the moment they're going to call it the Struy, and I think they've raised over £2 million on a second round of crowdfunding. So absolutely guys who are going places very strongly. Tucked away in a very small premises just off the main street in Dornoch, believe it or not.
Wow, I've been in Dornoch a few times. I didn't know. That's thank you for telling me. And you keep going then. You get. I mean, some your clients so far have come from where?
Most of the golfing people I've had in whiskies have been North Americans. Certainly in caddying, the majority are North Americans, some continental Europeans, few Australians. But initially, I just needed guinea pigs, John, because I've come up with this notion of the golf-themed whiskies. To me, it sounds like a good idea, but I need an audience in front of me just to see what works, what doesn't work, what resonates. So I probably did find it a bit more difficult than I thought, giving away free whiskey in the Highlands of Scotland about a year ago. Maybe people are thinking, who's this banking guy trying to give us whiskies and do a wee routine here? So there's been quite a few Scottish guys, Scottish golf people, committees, if you like. I thought I just need some guinea pigs. I just need to roll out the idea, see what works, what doesn't work, what makes sense. But certainly in the summer months, John, it's, as I say, mainly North American, US, Canadian visitors coming over for the whole Scottish experience. For some of these guys and girls, it's holiday of a lifetime. For some, they come back with the same group of guys every year. So I suppose I'm always positioning as the alternative to the distillery trip, which is always a great experience. But maybe they've done all the distillery trips year on year. I can come to them, a bit more flexible on time. And instead of just giving the chat about one distillery, I'm effectively giving chat about 5 distilleries.
I get it. Okay, I get it. Well, tell me more about some of the whiskies then.
Yeah, so drum number 2, I would always pick someone from Dornoch. Drum number 3, and I think it's worth saying, John, I wanted the whiskey lineup to work as whiskies as a progression, even though there was no golfing chat behind it, if you like. So if number 2 is someone from Dornoch, number 3, we kind of go down the A9 a little bit towards the home of golf, St Andrews. So dram number 3, I'd present a Kingsbarns. So a few interesting stories there. And again, this particular one I've got is called Bell Rock. This is cask strength. So again, we want to encourage the water, responsible drinking, all the rest of it. So a couple of interesting stories about Kingsbarns. In terms of Kingsbarns Golf Course, it was the same designer, Mark Parsons, who did Kingsbarns, who then came up and developed and owned Castle Stuart a few years later. So there's kind of synergies there. Kingsbarns Distillery was actually a concept of a fellow caddy. Could be another good guest for your show, a guy called Doug Clement, who, going back, 20 odd years before the renaissance of Fife whisky scene, Doug was being asked by his clients playing Kingsbarns, where can we go for a distillery tour? And the nearest one was about 35 miles away. So Doug kind of spotted this disused building on the borders of Kingsbarns Distillery and thought, what a cool place if we can make it a distillery. Doug would be a great guy to have on the show, John. He will tell you in full verse about all the challenges of trying to take an old converted barn and making it into a distillery, reducing a distillery, and then get it to go in business. But he did it. He did it to his credit. And they've now got a whole range of whiskies. Got some peated whiskey. So they've got almost the whole range of tastes, if you like. And again, in terms of how people connect with distilleries, because Kingsbarns is not local to me in any means, I think you'll relate to this, John. So the joke in our family is that the football skills missed the guys and went to the girls.
Oh, really?
So my daughter plays a bit of football, and her last ever game of university football for Stirling Uni, the final was in St Andrews. So I was able to go down. I was a tourist for the day, picked up a lot of bottle at the distillery. The final went well against the old Stirling Uni beat Heriot-Watt Uni. So I remember bouncing up the road that night after a long drive and taking a Hogmanay measure from a bottle of Kingsbarns. Again, I have to explain to Americans what a Hogmanay measure is, okay? So generally, every time I look at a Kingsbarns now, it connects me back to that moment with my daughter at that time.
That's nice. Well, we both have daughters who are footballers then. Yeah,
Absolutely, yes.
good stuff. Yeah, well, mine's in America now, so
Is that
yeah,
right, Jen? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Jen, it's a great world. I mean, they make so many great friends. And King again to dwell on Kingsbarns, beautiful place, beautiful beach. I was up there interviewing again. What's that tournament they have where they have all the celebrities coming in? I remember interviewing the
Oh, the Dunhull link.
yes, John Bon Jovi,
Yeah.
the John Bon Jovi drummer. Tico Torres was there. There were loads of people there. Harrison Ford, I think, came across. Beautiful part of the world. But tell me about the whiskey, the Kingsbarns whiskey.
Yeah, really good stuff. This particular one is a mixture of sherry and bourbon cask. So again, keeping the golfing link going, I call it the hybrid. Right. So you've got your hybrid golf club. This is almost a hybrid of bourbon and sherry. So again, it's newer whiskey, but really good pound for pound. It's good value. Possibly again, not one that's quite so well known for the foreign visitors, John. Again, sure. Maybe because I spent so much time in my banking life in corporates, I think I'm kind of becoming a little bit less corporate as I'm going on in life. I'm looking maybe for the dram less travelled, some of the more underdog growing brands. Because again, there's no point giving the visitors what they can get back home or getting duty free or travel.
They've heard of it.
It's maybe just about finding some of these hidden gems that won't be on the radar yet. And I should say that my style of delivery is I'll call it a semi-blind tasting. So when they come in, they've got 5 drams laid out, but I ask them to taste it, give me some feedback, and then I tell them what it is. So it's very interesting when they can't see the label that maybe they don't have the preconception, oh, I won't like that because it's new or I've not heard of it. I've already got them to give me a little score and a thought before I tell them what it is. So we have a wee bit of fun with that as well, you know.
Very clever. So where are we? We on number 3, are we? Are we on 3 of 5?
So we've kind of moved through a kind of bourbon start to kind of dry the palate. Then we're going into a hybrid, a mix of bourbon and sherry. So for dram number 4, there is a term going about in the whiskey world, John, called a sherry bomb, which I don't think some distillers love because maybe it implies there's just too much sherry. You've just flooded the dram out with sherry, okay? So depending on location, I would either use this one here, the Edward Caledonia.
Yeah.
You come across that. So again, natural colouring, absolute full-on sherry. If we're at Nairn, I would usually use a Royal Brackla. Again, a well-established, long-running distillery, but again, no distillery, no visitor centre. So it's maybe off the radar a little bit. So this is a bit more refined sherry. This is a Paolo Cortado finish. So a little bit more a drier style of sherry. One that I came across just recently doing a tasting up in Dornoch. And it was actually, there's a vault room in the Dornoch Castle Hotel. So great place to go and have whiskies.
Wow.
It was actually myself, a professional golfer from the States, and his party of 12 were all lady golfers. So they all wanted a 3 dram flight. So I'm thinking, right, how can I combine the stories here? So I've shown you one of the Thompson Brothers blends. This is one of their independent bottlings.
Okay.
So they're very distinctive labels. Everyone's different.
Oh, yeah.
If I've got that the right way up there. So this is our independent version of Brackla.
Right.
So usually a little bit higher strength, limited edition. So I've only 727 bottles of this. So it allowed me to kind of speak about Dornoch and Nairn at Brackla. And an absolutely magical moment, again, I was mentioning about Brackla. It's just along from Calder, little hamlet.
Calder Castle.
Yeah, you can then...
What's the families? The Corders? Is it the Corders in Calder Castle? No, I'm asking you questions. Yeah, it's an old family in Calder Castle. Crikey, we used to audit them when I was an auditor.
Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. So again, that lets me segue into Macbeth, Thane of Calder.
Yes.
Yes. And to my absolute surprise and delight, one of the ladies who was from Canada stood up and gave us a recital of Macbeth for about 90 seconds.
Brilliant.
An absolute magic moment. So something in that shaded style, I think, works coming well in that dram progression. And again, 3 totally different distilleries, maybe not be as on the radar. The obvious choice is to give them a Macallan probably as a shaded whiskey. But again, this is about trying to draw some different drams out to them, different distilleries. And that kind of works.
I love telling the amazing story of Scotland's whisky industry and sharing some positivity about one of the incredible things this country has given the world. Now, if you want to share some positivity too, leave us a 5-star rating wherever you are listening to the podcast. It takes you 10 seconds and will help Cask to Glass reach a much, much wider audience.
So after those four, our final one, I like to do something lightly peated. And again, we just get that conversation going. A lot of American visitors, a lot of Scottish people will tell you they don't like peated whiskey. Okay, usually based off a bad experience with Lafroig 10 or a Beg 10, perhaps. So I just ask them what their thoughts on peated whiskey are, and 7 times out of 10, oh, we don't like it, man. We had a bad whiskey a while ago, or bad peated whiskey. So I try to tease the conversation and say that if their first ever game of links golf was at Pebble Beach in October in 30-mile-an-hour runs, would they therefore write off playing links golf again? Which obviously they wouldn't. They might say Pebble Beach and the wind is too much for me, but I would play other links courses. So the dram that I put out as number 5 is in homage to Machrihanish Dunes. Machrihanish links, that's a Kilkerran whiskey from Campbell.
Okay, yeah.
So again, a couple of interesting points. If you look at the logo there, that open spire, which is the town, the town spire in the middle of Campbellton, it's almost identical in design to the logo at Castle Stuart. And for more of a whisky link, one of the many whiskies closed about 100 odd years ago up here is from Benwivis. And apparently when they were doing the kind of, what would you call it, the clearance sale at Benwivis, some of the stalls, I believe, ended up at Kilkerran. So again, lightly peated whiskey. For me, I would call it lightly peated whiskey. If they take a sip and they just won't have it at all, I offer them a Mulligan, which is a well-worn American phrase where we'll let you have the shot again. So if they absolutely won't take that style, John, I say, right, you pass that dram to your left, and I'll give them by way of Mulligan a Loch Lomond cask strength whiskey. So again, it's another independent bottling. This is from Douglas Lane, Glaswegian-based firm called Old Particular. It's a grain whiskey, so again, different kind of mouthfeel. It's the final dram, so it's cask strength, got to be something higher, but I will let them off. I will let them off if they just won't take any peated experience at all.
Listen, thank you for talking me through all this. I mean, obviously, Glenwivis is open again, isn't it? We've interviewed them, so that's brilliant. And in terms of being a caddy, I was on the East Coast recently with the Scottish Open was on at the Renaissance, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we have extraordinary golf courses. Where's the best golf course you've played in this country?
That might be a little bit of a political question for you, John.
I know. Castle Stuart, you've got to say.
What I would say is Castle Stuart, that for me was love at first sight. So I think the opening round there, the first corporate day, I think it was on the 13th of July, so anniversary's just gone 2009. So as the last minute invite, played well, took the money. It's a beautiful summer's day. And I remember just driving home that day thinking, how much fun can you legally have on a golf course? Yeah. So for something like Fortrose, but I didn't play great yesterday, super windy, links course, out in a peninsula of land. It took me a few years to really fall in love with Fortrose. But Castle Stuart was love at first sight. So I guess getting to tread around there 3 times a week, meeting all sorts of interesting people, it's not the worst office to be had in the world, John. That's what I'll say.
Brilliant. And just, I go back again, I think I saw on your website there have been some pretty well-known golfers who've tied in with whiskey. Is that right?
So again, one of the more kind of off-piste golf and whiskey experiences, you might call it, is down at Granton and Spey. Mm-hmm. So just 10 minutes off the A9, where the club there, I've kind of retelling the story about one of their favourite sons and one of the early Scottish pioneers, a guy called Bobby Cruickshank, who grew up, I think, virtually maybe a 3-week away from the first tee. Interesting life. He was in the prisoner of war, escaped, left to go across the States when I think it took us about 3 weeks to sail over to the States. Won about 19 times in the PGA Tour. He was in, I think, the top 5 or 6 in all the majors. This is, again, I think he was actually the leading money winner one year in the US tour. Very different sums of money we're talking about now. So the guys in the committee at Granton have, I think, purchased about 14 sets of hickory golf clubs. So you can actually hire out the bag, the hickory clubs, softballs, and play around the original 9-hole course. And then come in afterwards, have a little bit of a presentation about Bobby Cruickshank. And if they wish, we can do some whiskey tasting for them there, either with whiskies where it's all old style distillation, so it kind of feeds into that old hickory style, or we do some where it's all local distilleries, so it's called Local Heroes, almost in homage to Bobby, who was a true local hero of Granton back in the day.
I'm with you. Well, listen, I've really enjoyed the chat. I mean, we've got two things going on here, haven't we? We've got the whiskey, which is wonderful. We have the golf courses, and they're wonderful. And just to talk to people listening from abroad, I mean, I think we do almost every program, but if you want to come and see the country, I think people think of Scotland as being this little place, but it's so varied and so different. And the golf courses, almost without exception, are truly beautiful, aren't they?
Absolutely.
And you've then paired this idea loosely with whiskey, and it works, does it? It just works when you have people doing that?
Yeah, absolutely, John. Yeah. Again, it's so obvious an idea, and other people know that jump on the bandwagon. I can't trademark it. But it is just keeping that whole chat going through. As I say, it's always going to be a great day to go and play your golf. Here's the minibus, let's go to the distillery tour. But the golf chat's kind of stopped. And again, you've got a group of guys and girls around who have had their experience in the course. And there's always some talking point between what went on, who won the money, who lost the money, and some of the little anecdotes about, again, easy par 4 to start with. You just need to feed them a few lines and a few drams, and then the conversation just takes you off into different tangents. And for me, whether I've caddied for them or not, talking about golf and whiskey, spreading the word about the whiskies, the locations, not a bit of it feels like work.
Hamish, great to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, John. Thanks for your time, man. Catch you again.
We're never going home. We're never going home. Can we stay with you in Scotland for the rest